You know how the story originally broke? The Packers podcaster named Big B.
Shout out Big B.
Jamal Williams is inside the 30, out in front, a Green Bay touchdown.
Jamal Williams is the GOAT, the GOAT. That's all you need to know.
Let's keep it under 25 minutes, all right?
We might be too young to have a spotted cow, but we are both diehard Packers fans. Back into the Underage Packers podcast. This is episode 158, and we are coming off a dominant win of the Green Bay Packers over the Dallas Cowboys. Big B, did the Packers put 20 on them?
No.
Did they put 30 on them?
No.
Did they put 40 on the Dallas Cowboys?
Oh, yeah.
They put 48 on the Dallas Cowboys. They could have went to 60 if they really wanted to. Just an unbelievable win for the Green Bay Packers. We talked last week. It's funny to go back and listen to our preview now and just thinking of the thoughts I had last week of, okay, this Packers team, I really think they have more of a shot than most people are giving them. But that being said, I can't see any way in which they win. Like there was, although I guess that's wrong. I could see there was a formula in my head on how they could win this game compared to the Chiefs game last month, where it's like I seriously I see no game plan in which this group of players beat the Kansas City Chiefs. With Dallas, I could see a way, and they executed that to perfection and some. Okay, the game plan going into this was shutting down CeeDee Lamb and Aaron Jones having a great day. Aaron Jones had an unbelievable day, 118 yards on 21 carries for 3 touchdowns. That alone pretty much killed the Cowboys. And then CeeDee Lamb, did he have a single reception?
Yeah, I think he had a few, but it came in the second half. I don't even think he had a catch in the first half.
Yeah. Let me pull up the stat line because, this was just a great performance. I was going to say in all 3 phases, but not necessarily. Special teams is not included in that. But let's see here. CeeDee Lamb, okay, he had 9 receptions for 110 yards, but like Big B said, I'm sure most of those were in the garbage time of the second half. Hold on. There we go. We're back. I'm not sure exactly. I'm interested. I need to go ahead and rewatch this game, look at the all 22, and just see what they even do to shut down CeeDee Lamb. Big P, thoughts on this Packers defensive performance, and do you have the answers for me on what they did against CeeDee?
Yeah, I have no idea. I was so impressed at how they managed to shut down CeeDee Lamb in the first half. The entire defense as a whole in the first half was just incredible. Just had one of their best performances of the season, in my opinion. Second half, they got a little comfortable, a little too lackadaisical, especially in the fourth quarter, letting up all those garbage time points and yards and all that. But the first half was just an incredible showing from this defense and Joe Barry, and hopefully they continue it to next week because they're going to need it.
Yeah, going into this week, we talked about, we know the offense is going to do good, but the big question mark is going to be the defense. And man, what a showing from them, especially in the first 45 minutes of play. The offense did great, but the defense, Jair Alexander gets the interception at the Cowboys 10-yard line, and then Darnell Savage with the pick 6. That's basically 14 points for the defense right there. That's pretty incredible. And I'm just really impressed with Joe Barry in this game. 3 straight good performances for Joe Barry's groups. So conversation about Joe Barry is getting increasingly more interesting. I still think they should fire him, but he is getting every chance. He is fighting. Basically, Joe Barry, by having this defense have good performances, he is fighting for another chance to prove that the Packers should hang on to him. Every game he earns, it's another opportunity for him. So solid performance from them. Obviously, the players deserve some good attention too. Jair Alexander, he left the game in the second half, of course, with that ankle getting re-aggravated. We'll see with that. Probably going to be a day-to-day thing, and unfortunate that this next matchup against 49ers is going to be on a Saturday, so one less day for Jair to recover. But he had an amazing game. And really, there's just very few weak spots on this defense from this game, except from what you mentioned of when they went way too much prevent on those last 2 drives there and made it a little bit too close for the heart, especially as Packers fans. and all the flashbacks we had, just Seattle in 2014, the greatest example to think of. But other than that, man, I mean, Kenny Clark had an outstanding day. December and January, Kenny Clark is not a man you want to mess with. And hopefully this year we get to see our first February Kenny Clark. That would be very exciting. And I'm trying to think who else on the defense. Isaiah McDuffie, he was kind of switching some roles with Devondre Campbell. He played really solid, and he's definitely earned himself that opportunity. Unfortunate that he suffered that injury there in that game. It looks like it's a stinger for him after suffering a concussion a few weeks ago. Carrington Valentine and Corey Ballantyne again. Nothing, Ballantyne had a bad kickoff return. But other than that, solid day for them again. And this Packers defense, take away those few garbage time points from Dallas. Packers have allowed only 10, 9, and, basically what should have been 20 points from the Cowboys. So really, really solid 3 weeks for this Packers defense. And like Big B said, they're going to be going up against one of the most dynamic offenses in the NFL in San Fran on this upcoming Saturday. So they'll need to continue this good performance. But any more thoughts on this Packers defense, Big B?
Not really. Just everybody just had an outstanding game. I think everybody should get their kudos in this on this defense. And yeah, just hopefully, like I said, hopefully they continue in the next week.
Yeah. One thing to mention on the defense is JJ Nagbari, who, it was announced today that he did indeed tear his ACL, which was an unfortunate loss. I don't want others to kind of disvalue that loss. He's definitely a valuable depth piece and has had a really good past few weeks here. I'm not necessarily, it's definitely not a back-breaking injury. They'll still have 3 guys out there that we trust, in Rashawn, Preston, and Lucas Van Ness. And then we'll probably also see Brenton Cox out there. He's been on the active roster, I believe, all year and just has not been active for a game. So I'm excited to see what Brenton can do. Could be a unexpected playoff hero. I think that's it from the defense. I guess I did want to say Darnell Savage, man. Great for him to have that redemption. And honestly, he has had, with a lot of doubters going into this year, he has had a pretty solid 2023 season. So I'm happy for him. And he's playing on his 5th-year option now, and he's making a good case for the Packers to extend him after this year. Let's see. I think that's all we have on the defense. The offense. Oh, one last thing on the defense. Keyshawn Nixon. He didn't have an interception or anything too flashy, but he also had a really good day. Just kind of swarming the ball, really sticky in coverage at times. And that was a big question mark going into this game, how he's going to deal with CD in the slot. And, he did have the one holding call that was costly in the red zone near the end of the first half. But other than that, I watched him a few times, directly matched up with CD, and he did a solid job on him. So shout out to Keyshawn Nixon. On to the offense here. Can we just first talk about Jordan Love? I know, we've talked about him so much, but he's given us plenty of reasons to talk, man. He just keeps on getting better every single week. It's so fun to watch him. He's pulling out new tricks every week, and really, it's already that feeling of, man, if Jordan is out there, we have a chance. We have a chance. And I love this kid. And like I said last week, I was not worried about him in this game, because whenever the stage just keeps on getting bigger and bigger for him. I think first you look at going into Detroit on Thanksgiving with, pretty much starting in November, the season was on the line in every game. Now, they lost a few along the way and still found a way to make it out. But starting with that Detroit game, that's a big game. It's Thanksgiving. Detroit, this is their best season in forever, and the team that always plays on Thanksgiving. He goes out there, and obviously it's a great team performance, but Jordan, that was really the start where it went from, okay, he is playing good, to, oh my God, we might have another Hall of Famer on our hands. That Detroit game. And then next week, okay, Are you for real? Was that Detroit game a fluke? You have the Kansas City Chiefs, reigning Super Bowl champions, coming into your house on Sunday Night Football, and that man lights it up. He outperforms Patrick Mahomes for the second time in his career. Incredible. And so, like, that was why I was not worried going into this game. Like, obviously, Micah Parsons is really good. The Dallas Cowboys are 16-0 at home. They're on that stretch right now. And this was it's a tough environment to play in. There's nearly 100,000 people in there. But again, Jordan just like shrugs his shoulders, like, all right, I'll just do my thing. It's just so fun to watch. Big B, I'm sure you have a big rant built up in you to be able to say "I told you so" to a lot of people. Let's hear it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I told you so. I was right, clearly. But man, his performance just leaves me speechless. Like he is so good at football, it is insane. That man, nothing rattles that guy.
No.
I don't. You can send all the pressure in the world, and that man's just gonna flick his wrist and throw a touchdown. Like this man is Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre wrapped in one. Like I hate comparing him to like Rodgers and like Favre and stuff, but this man, he's on the path, and he has made me so delusional that it has me thinking that he's gonna have a better career than Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre combined. Like I know that's definitely not probably gonna happen, but right now I'm just so on top of the world that like I'm believing this stuff. And Jordan Love is just unbelievable. Like there's just nothing else to say. He's just that guy.
Well, his demeanor is definitely a thing. It's definitely real, and you can see it out there. And that was kind of before we even saw him on the field. All of his teammates and LaFleur talk so much about how poised he is, and on and off the field, and it translates so perfectly on the field. And you need that, especially coming from. And like I think we've done a lot of dunking on Aaron Rodgers past few weeks. The whole world has. But the past few years, a lot of people criticized Aaron Rodgers for how flippant he was on the field, especially dealing with some younger players. And how, like, it's good to get angry, but it just seemed like he was just always like screaming at something, frustrated with something. And I'm not saying he shouldn't be frustrated with anything, because he had a bad supporting cast a few years, but Jordan, I mean, there's been a lot of times, even when the season was really rough, he just was very calm, sat back and was patient, and he had to be patient with himself too, I'm sure, and that has led to just an incredible growth from not only him but from his whole cast of young teammates as well. And I definitely think his leadership is something interesting with how poised he is. He's not a rah-rah guy, and Aaron Rodgers wasn't either. But I think, Cassidy Hill, one of the articles I read that she did for Panthers.com, she compared Adam Thielen's veteran presence, his calming presence, to like when you're on a plane and you're having turbulence and you look at like a flight attendant and they are like completely calm. And so you reflect that mood. I think Jordan Love is the exact same. It's actually back to my AP psychology days. Like you reflect the mood of the people around you, especially in football with where a quarterback is naturally the more dominant person, or just the person that everybody kind of looks to decide how they're going to react. And Jordan is the guy I want leading my team for sure. And also, there's just been a lot of people that have had to take back their takes on Jordan Love. And what I want to say to them is, like, it's all fine and dandy that you're admitting that you're wrong on Jordan Love. But what I want to see more people admit that not only were they wrong about Jordan Love, but they think about the whole entire NFL draft wrong. They bring the whole, like, the worst perspective to the NFL draft, that they not only, like, this isn't a case of, oh, I was wrong on this guy. No, you need to change how you view the draft. And Ross Ogden kind of alluded to this. He made a apology video admitting he's wrong, because even through October, Ross Uglum was definitely one of the captains on the Jordan Love is a bus train. Okay. And Ross Uglum is very smart at football. He's smarter at football than me. But he admitted in this video that, watching the evolution of Jordan Love and Josh Allen has changed the way he evaluates quarterbacks. And I think that's one thing to evaluate specifically with accuracy, because that's something that both Jordan and Josh Allen struggled at, not only in college, but then it carried over into their first year in the NFL. Jordan basically only 9 games, but like that I think specifically with accuracy too, a lot of people might think about it kind of the way I think about kickers. Like you either have it or you don't. But I'm sure Tom Clements would be able to give a better answer on this. But I think there is some things with accuracy that you're probably able to fine tune that improve it other than how you're throwing the ball. And I'm sure like release and stuff has to do something with that. But I would think just the footwork and like understanding how to balance your weight, what foot to lead with. Well, that's obviously your opposite one, but all of that more little stuff like that would probably lead to improvements in accuracy. And so I appreciate Ross admitting that. But to my main point is that people like this Jordan Love pick should make people completely change how they view the draft, should completely change how they view not only the prospects, but teams' philosophies going into it, especially now that the Packers have struck gold 2 times with this exact same scenario, drafting quarterback late in the first round, who is a project, who needs time to learn, and using those, the time you have with him to sit on the bench. And obviously that's a luxury. Not every team, there's very, it's kind of a, you have to have money to make money type scenario. This idea of like sitting behind a Hall of Fame quarterback for a few years only works so well if you have an actual Hall of Fame quarterback, of course. But I just like mainly just people need to have more patience with the draft and, just trust the process, let it play out a little bit, and realize, especially with quarterbacks, that it takes time. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's my monologue on the Jordan Love pick. Admit that not only you were wrong about Jordan Love, but that the whole draft conversation, especially like draft grades and instant reactions, are usually dumb. Okay. That's what I have to say about that. Any other thoughts on Jordan Love, Big B?
I'll add to that. Add to what you were just talking about. Like him coming out of the draft, you knew he had it, and you knew that like he's gonna have to take time and develop a little bit and sit behind somebody, and just everybody just seeming like they completely like forgot about that, and just almost like forgetting like that some quarterbacks need time to develop. Some quarterbacks need
Most of them
a
do.
little more extra time to work on their craft. And that's exactly what Jordan Love did. And I don't think Jordan Love would be playing at this level if he didn't have those 3 years sitting behind Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
And that's just the facts at this point.
And that goes back to just how a lot of teams in the NFL just like don't know how to develop quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think to some extent, like the Bears, the Lions, like the Jets, their struggles with quarterbacks to a certain extent have to deal with like drafting bad players. And sometimes that's not even like what general managers or any scout can see. Sometimes like players just don't work out in the NFL. But also like there has to be something to the fact that they just don't have so many quarterbacks have been ruined because they go to bad teams. Like, I mean, you look at the first overall pick, like for quarterbacks, a lot of them, like the first overall pick quarterback success rate over the past decade has not been great because they're going to one of the worst teams in the league that doesn't have a good coaching staff, that doesn't know how to develop the most important position in the league. The Packers, like obviously it wasn't the same guy that developed Favre, Rodgers, and then Love. But there's definitely something to having the right guys in the building that know how to develop quarterbacks. And I mean, Tom Clements, he wasn't there at the start of Rodgers' time in Green Bay, but he definitely played a part in turning him into the MVP that he became in 2011. So, yeah, I'm glad the Packers have that figured out.
Yes. Shout out to Tom Clements, man. Round of applause.
Yes.
Just
Of course.
love that, man.
Yeah, I was listening to Andy Herman earlier today and he was talking about just the coaches that deserve credit for Jordan Love's development and growth this year. And Matt LaFleur definitely deserves quite a bit of it. And also Tom Clements, man. I mean, this is just another, depending on how the rest of Jordan Love's career goes, another feather in his cap for a good career for Tom Clements. Even though I don't think he even ever reached head coaching in the NFL. But good career for Tommy, especially this will probably be his last year. I was so surprised when they brought him back, but that's another conversation for another day. Okay, trying to think. We hit on Aaron Jones' good performance. Saw some snaps from Emmanuel Wilson and Patrick Taylor. Nothing to comment on there, though. Romeo Doubs, though, 6 receptions for 151 yards and a touchdown. 2 passes early on where he is wide open. He caught every single one of his targets. I mean, Big B, what can you say about Romeo Doubs and this young receiving group?
Man, I don't know. They just continue to impress me every single week, especially Romeo Doubs, who like Packer fans kind of like dismissed like his season kind of, and
Yes.
he's like one of the more underrated players on this roster to Packer fans, and just him coming out of nowhere, dropping 150 yards and a touchdown versus the Cowboys was just incredible. The man was just wide open. I don't know if it was Matt LaFleur scheming him wide open or him just cooking fools. I know he absolutely cooked Stephon Diggs on that one route, and he left him like in freaking Appleton. But just Romeo Doubs having the game of his career. Dontavian Wicks continuing to impress. I know Jaden Reed didn't have a catch, I don't think, at all during that game,
No.
but just everything that he has done throughout the year, he has just been so impressive. And that's almost the luxury of this offense and of this team, is that you don't know who's going to have that big game that week.
Yes.
You don't know who to key in on every week. Like there's so many talented receivers and tight ends and running backs that you don't know who's going to have this massive game this week. And I think that's definitely a part of this team's success, especially down the stretch, is that you just don't know who's going to get the ball that week.
Yeah, that definitely is a good point. And Tucker Kraft alluded to this too, in his Twitter post today, that it just feels like none of them have had their best game yet, or what they're capable of. Because I mean, it feels like we haven't, like, we've had a Jaden Reed game, we've had a Bo Melton game, now we've had a Romeo Doubs game, but we haven't had a game where, like, I mean, Tucker Kraft, he had a good game a few weeks ago. I can't remember who against, but like we haven't had Dontavian Wicks. Like we've only seen flashes from him, and it really, like, it looks like he's fully capable of having a 150-yard day like Romeo Doubs had. And so, yeah, I mean, if you're a opposing defense, like it's not as simple. Okay, we need to have our best corner on Devontae Adams, and then we need to have a fast guy on MVS. That's not the case. There is just such a diverse skill set here in the Packers pass catching group, and it is so exciting to watch. And it is a real challenge to figure out. I wouldn't say any of these receivers should warrant double coverage right now, but like they're all just really good, and they can kill a team in a lot of different ways. And it just feels like I said, a new one going off every week. And it's not because, in 2020 or 2021, the Packers, they lost MVS, and I believe they traded Devontae at that point. So they were going out there with a really depleted wide receiver group. The only wide receiver I can name from that team, in fact, is Allen Lazard. I don't know of a single other wide receiver on that team off the top of my head, to be honest with you. Yeah, I really can't. So, like, the idea with that team, though, was like, okay, it's going to be a different leading receiver every week, but for a different reason. It was because all of them sucked, or we're not good. Now it's because all of them are good, and it's going to be a different one every week. And Jordan seems to have a great connection with all of them. So, just a real challenge for defense coordinators. And like you said, Jaden Reed didn't have a catch. Bo Melton only had one catch. Christian Watts only had one. Aaron Jones only had one. Tucker Kraft only had 2. Dontavian Wicks only had 2. Luke Musgrave only 3. Like, Romeo Doubs led the team with 6 receptions. Like, the passing attack, like the game was over so quickly that this passing attack, like really, like not put a lot on tape for the 49ers to scout this week at least. So I'm interested in to see, and I really can't wait whenever that game is where like all 4 or 5 of them just go for 100 yards. I can't wait. Gonna take at least 2 Romeo Dobbs like performances, I think, against San Fran to win in that game. Okay, one last thing as far as recap on this performance. The offensive line for the Green Bay Packers, they definitely deserve a round of applause. I mean, the holes they opened up for Aaron Jones were awesome. Jones mentioned them as a big factor in his success in the past 4 games. You know, he had never rushed for 100 yards in 3 games in a row ever in his career. He did that already, and now it's at 4. And yeah, they just did an outstanding job. And Aaron Jones also in pass protection. There's a play where he just completely takes Micah Parsons out of it. Micah, beats John Runyon, and then Aaron Jones comes up there to fill that hole. So great performance by the offensive line. In pass pro, they had their moments like Micah Parsons got through a few times, but they allowed just enough time for Jordan to be able to get the pass off. And really that's all he needs. It seems like Jordan is just unfazed by pressure. And that's what I'm really looking forward to. Perfect segue into the San Francisco 49ers game, because the challenge, at the heart of the San Francisco 49ers team is their defense. Their offense is obviously much better than when they had Jimmy Garoppolo. Brock Purdy played like MVP for a good portion of the season. And they have Christian McCaffrey there too now, and they have some great wide receivers after the catch especially. But at the heart of this team is their defense, and more specifically, this killer pass rush group. Nick Bosa, Chase Young. I mean, that is just a defense coordinator's wildest dream right there, to have 2 of the best pass rushers on the same line. But with the old Packers, the Packers that lost to the 49ers in 2019 2 times, got blown out by them 2 times in 2019, and then lost in 2021. Aaron Rodgers in 2021 was the league MVP. But and obviously Snow played a big part in that game. The weather did. But with Jordan Love, I'm not worried about this offense, because Jordan Love, he could be in the pits of hell and could fire out a 50-yard touchdown pass. Stephen Ruiz from the Arena wrote a great article on this, how Jordan Love and CJ Stroud are basically showing that if you want to be a successful quarterback in the NFL nowadays, you got to be able to make the off-platform crazy arm angle throws that they are able to do. And so I really think that is going to be great to combat San Francisco's pass rush. And, they're not going to be able to send blitzes. Go right ahead. I'd appreciate it, because Jordan Love is the best quarterback in the league against blitzes this year. So it's a really interesting matchup that really, I think, we could compare this matchup against the Cowboys. We could compare that to the game against them last year that the Packers had. This is a completely different matchup. I know it's a year farther back too, but this Packers team matches up with San Francisco completely different than they did 2 years ago. So yeah, I'm really excited to watch Jordan Love and how he performs in this game. Because we talked last week. We said something like, if the Packers go in Dallas and win a playoff game, conversations are going to get really interesting. Can you imagine if Jordan Love exercises Packers demons against 49ers in playoffs, and the Packers are in the NFC Championship game, man?
I've said, I think I don't know where I said this, somewhere on Twitter or something. I don't know if it was in the group chat we're in or something, but if the Packers beat the 49ers, we're going to the Super Bowl. I don't see a single team in the NFC who can beat this Packers team if we get past the 49ers.
No.
And, that got me so excited, because it's true. Who's going to beat this Packers team if we get past the 49ers?
As much they dominated Detroit and Thanksgiving, you never know with a third matchup with the team in a year. And at home, Ford Field would be rocking, but I would like their chances against the Lions more than I do the 49ers. But it would be just so exciting to make the NFC Championship game. I know we keep on talking, we keep on raising the stakes of, okay, just making the playoffs was successful enough, and now okay, just make it to the NFC Championship game and that's enough. And then of
Yep.
course, the next step in line is if they win the Super Bowl. Or if they make it to the Super Bowl, that's enough. But I think if they make it to the Super Bowl, this house money stuff's completely off the table.
Oh yeah.
We're going all in. So I knocked my water bottle over, getting too excited for the chances of this. But yeah, I mean, no matter what, to go through the whole thing that I was just throwing off the table, like making it to be one of the last 8 in the NFL this season and they deserve to be there too. Okay.
Mhm.
They might have stumbled into the playoffs basically. They got lucky. They had to have a few breaks from some other teams, but they are, I would say, with the way they are playing now, they're one of the best 8 teams in the NFL, which is crazy to think about. And it's an exciting time to be a Packer fan, not only for what these next 3 weeks may hold, but also for what the next 10 years could hold. So buckle up your seat belts, boys and girls. All right, that's where we're going to wrap it up. Any closing thoughts, Big B, after incredible Packers 48-32 win over Dallas?
Yeah, I got one thing to say. I got one thing. How about them Packers, baby? Let's go.
That's right. We'll be back here on Friday to preview the Packers 49ers divisional round matchup. So make sure you tune in for that. We thank you for watching this episode, and we'll talk to you later. As always, go Pack, go.